What amazing advice. So important to document some wins and then also quantify them with numbers. And when you're prepping for an interview, that becomes super relevant because you're finding out what their challenges are, and then you can pull in, well, I was able to do boom, boom, boom at this company. I could do the same for you. That becomes so critical in the interview, but also when you're trying to state your case.
Before we start the show, I have a quick question for you. Is your resume stuck in the rejection pile? At Resume Assassin, I create powerful resumes that showcase your skills, experience, and achievements, getting you noticed by recruiters. I'll also optimize your LinkedIn profile, transforming it into a magnet for opportunity. Visit resumeassassin.com today and take charge of your job search. Visit resumeassassin.com. Welcome to Resume Assassin Presents Recruiting Insider, where I create a safe space to have candid conversations with recruiters and LinkedIn thought leaders. This podcast promises to inform, entertain, and inspire. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. You guys are going to love the topic this week. It's a doozy, and I promise that it can help every single one of you out there. Keri-Lynne Shaw is here with us today to discuss how to negotiate 30 to 50% more in compensation. Keri-Lynne, welcome to Recruiting Insider.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. It's a big promise that you're making to your listeners.
We'll break that down a little bit.
Yeah, no, what I could promise is that you will take something away from this conversation that will either bring you confidence or help you to navigate this weird world of uncertainty where the market is today, and uncertainty in knowing what you can and can't do or say when it comes to salary negotiation. So I can absolutely promise that you will take at least something away. Not everybody is in a position to be looking for a new job or looking for a raise, but if that is the case, then I can pretty much assure you that some of the tips and tools or working with me would get you significantly more than you were offered or you are paid today.
Yes, I love it. Keri-Lynne is a LinkedIn top voice, a fractional chief people officer, and the founder of the Salary Bump. So really you can think of her as your career growth hacker, like she says on LinkedIn. And really her mission is simple, right? To show you that you have a rewarding career and that a salary that actually respects your value. So Keri-Lynne, to kick things off here, I'd love to learn a little more about your background and what really sparked your passion for helping people negotiate higher salaries.
So I would say my time in HR was probably the most transformational when it came to me finding my purpose. I sold cars to pay for college. I was in sales and marketing, which, by the way, I think everyone should do a sales gig in their career, whatever stage it is, anything to do with clients and customer and navigating difficult situations. I actually ran customer care for BMW and had 5 death threats during my tenure as the leader. It was bananas, and customers are very, very passionate about their cars. So having the ability to navigate when bombs are dropping and tough situations, I think that put some hair on my chest and was for sure my foundation. And then I fell into HR. It was an accident. I really didn't know how to spell it, and I would say that early in my career, the HR that I had been exposed to was not very modern and not very progressive. So I wanted to do it differently and created a much different approach where it was not back office. It was really employee-led, people-led, talent-led. Everything that we did was about employee engagement and retention and how do we help people unlock their potential. So fast forward, I recognized that that was my purpose, was helping people unlock their potential. And in HR, when I started the Salary Bump, one of the reasons for it was I want to blow off the doors of HR because it's a bit of a, I wouldn't say a black hole, but a lot of people, if your HR is not out there and engaged with you, you don't know what you can, what you can't. You don't know what HR is thinking. The fact that I've done it for about a decade, I saw people do it really well when it comes to negotiation and interviewing, and I saw people do it really poorly and more on the poorly side. So throughout my tenure, I negotiated terribly. I didn't know how. I didn't know I could. I didn't know what I was worth, and I didn't know how. And I was also really nervous that if I was talking about money, that they might think that I wasn't as interested in the job. And money is not my number one driver. So what I recognized when I got into HR and I saw the vast salary ranges, I saw how much I was leaving on the table, and I started to think, why can't I have all the things I value and the money to go with it? And so hence the salary bump was born, and we're changing the game and we're normalizing the conversation, and it's been so incredible to just expose people to what HR, what the person on the other end is thinking, and to give them a little bit more confidence to walk in and confidently say this is what they're worth, and confidently know that they should know their value, and that there's a whole plethora of things to negotiate beyond just salary. It's called a salary bump because I thought it was catchy, but it's actually your whole comp package, which most people don't actually consider when they outline and list out what they make.
Yeah, I know when I was first entering the job market, I had no idea that I could negotiate anything other than a salary. You know, when I was offered my first full-time salary out of graduate school, it was lower than what I was offered when I was coming out of undergraduate. And I was like, you know, kind of scattering about to try to figure out, okay, how do I ask for a higher salary? Do I even ask for a higher salary? You know, to me, it was a company that was really, it was an organization that was really coveted. So it's like, if I don't get the offer, somebody else will probably take this super lowball offer, you know, if I say no to it, or if they say no to my salary negotiation. So there's a little bit of fear that's attached to that. And I'm really curious too, Keri-Lynne, because I know that you mentioned that you really messed up that first salary negotiation, and I'm sure a lot of people can really relate to that, you know, and if they've ever negotiated a salary, they probably feel like they didn't do it to the best of their ability. Can you talk to us a little bit more about your experience and what you mean when you said that you really messed that first one up?
Yeah, not first one, much of my career, I would say. Sadly, I just, again, I didn't recognize what I knew, that I was doing great work, because within companies, I stayed 5 years with one company, 12 years with another in my early days. And I knew I was doing good work because people wanted me on their projects. They would call me to say, Kale, we want you on this team, or we want to promote you. I just was so hungry for making an impact and learning and growing that I just didn't ask. So the flip for me was when I started to see all these other people doing it really well, I thought, oh, okay, so that felt really good, or that felt gross, that felt egotistical, that felt rude, that felt, ooh, so smart. They took the emotion out of it. Or, oh, wow, that person came and confidently put on the table that they're talking with other organizations or recruiters, and this is what the range is. I'm like, oh, let's talk ranges instead of dollar amounts. Oh, let's talk about all the other benefits outside of that. So it was a combo between seeing these people do it well, and because so many people did it badly and wrong, it was really easy to put together this framework that, okay, and the fact that there's this huge niche that the percentages are so grossly low of people who are negotiating, less for women and less for people of color. So there was this opportunity to actually really change the world, and that's what was so exciting about it for me. So in doing it wrong, it was really simple. I didn't know I could, so I didn't talk about it. One time I did, and I got turned down because they said there's no opportunity for a bump, and this was a job move at the same level within my company. So I said, okay, well, what else is there? So I said, listen, PTO is really important to me. My family lives in Western Canada and in Germany, so when we go away, we go for a little bit longer. And PTO was like gold to me. And so I said, well, would you be open to increase the PTO? And my boss said, I can't because of where you are. And it was a very structured approach. We can't give you more than other people at your level. But let's do good work and let's talk. End of the year, fast forward, I had moved out of a house to do a renovation and was moving back in. It was in between Christmas and New Year's. I had no vacation left. And he knew I was moving back into my house. I had to, redo everything. Like it was like a full reno. Everything was in storage. And he's like, take the week off on me. Thank you for everything you do. And I thought, wow, okay, so here was a leader that, followed through. That was such a beautiful surprise. And he customized it to me because he knew that that was important to me. So I would say in that particular situation, it still felt like a win, even though I was turned down. But there's this art in how you have this conversation. And so fast forward, twice in my career, I've been able to double my salary. Once moving from one company to another, which, by the way, Forbes noted this, I think, last year. If you job jump, you will earn 55% more than people who stay loyal. So this was an opportunity that I really took seriously. It was the very first time where I was like, I'm going all in. And it was a magnificent experience. Because again, I used my blueprint. And then I doubled my salary once in an existing role. And this is where it's interesting. So I think a lot of people, when they think about salary increase, they think about it when they're looking for a new job. I have created something, though, that people are often disengaged and unhappy or leave companies because they don't feel valued. And a lot of the reason they leave is because there's no transparency around their pay. There's no transparency around how they grow, where they stand, what the next level looks like, all of that. And so this was such an opportunity that I thought more people need to know that they can ask for a bump in their existing role. And it was a really specific situation that I was in where I was so grossly underpaid compared to the other people that were on the exec team. The CEO knew that, and we had conversations, and it just like went on and on and on. I got frustrated and said, I need to do something about it and take action. I got 3 sentences out, and he doubled my salary on the spot, which at that point I was making more than the CFO, which is very unusual that a chief people officer would make more than anyone else on the exec team. But that was like, oh yeah, this works. Yeah. I'm onto something. And when I decided to create this company, which was an accident also, I was super intentional about, okay, what worked in those situations. And so I help a lot of clients who are also frustrated because they don't feel valued.
Yeah, I'm really curious about some of your coaching programs and the one-on-one coaching that you do provide surrounding salary negotiation. And I mean, you help clients uncover, really the secrets of negotiating, right? And learning that nuanced art of really using all of these levers, like you said, and some of the full compensation packages. So let's just unpack that just a little bit. Can you give away some of your secrets, and which levers should we be pulling?
Oh, that's such a big question. So let's say this. From a one-on-one perspective, my clients come to me all at different stages. So I think the biggest aha for them is the understanding of what they can negotiate. Because when you think about negotiation, you think about your salary. So what has been very interesting is a lot of clients will sign up to, I take, discovery calls every day. They'll sign up for a discovery call, and by the time in between when they set up the meeting and we actually meet, it happened 3 times last week. 3 people told me, interesting timing, I just got laid off. So what we've been doing now is a double negotiation. A negotiation on the one side of what's the severance, did you get an offer, and let's talk about how to get you more. And in those 3 cases, all 3 of them, we more than doubled their severance offer. Wow. So there's that aspect, which is, again, most people don't know. or people who are really unhappy in their roles, and they're or in a toxic environment, or just like really want to do something different and more. We proactively ask for packages because companies are so cost conscious right now, and that's a polite way to say it's a bananas market. I most of my clients are shocked that they could proactively ask, and in every case when we've done it, they've said yes, because they were going to have to reorg anyway, or they were in a process of a reorg, or the person was going to get reorged out. Now they've just saved themselves the heartache of having to break someone's heart. And in every case, they've said yes. So, I mean, obviously there's no guarantee in that, but the severance package is something that I think a lot of people don't recognize as a lever that they can pull, giving them then runway to get them to their next opportunity, or of course, if they were laid off, then that's the story that I just described. But the lever of that, and then all of the levers beyond salary. And I would also say what they're also surprised about is how to even do the homework on what the market value is and what they're worth. And so we dig in on that. I do that research with different AI tools. They're available for anybody to do, but we establish for them a range that is both comfortable for them, based on the market, based on the role, based on city, state, country, and based on what where they currently are. And just like to give them, they have to feel comfortable with the range that they're giving. And I always encourage the range, the bottom end of the range that you use is the number you'd be very happy with. The top end of the range you use that you provide to them is your dream number. Because if you get an offer on the low end of your range, you don't want to put back yourself into a corner. And then the goal with putting a range out there is to get you to the mid to high end. And so I think that, people don't know they should talk ranges, not numbers. People don't know that they shouldn't share their existing salary if someone asks you. Shame if they do. They should not be. It's definitely illegal in 8 states. But you shouldn't, you don't have to answer the question if someone asks what you currently make. You can say my salary expectations are between boom and boom, based on my research and roles that I'm interviewing for. You don't have to say, well, my actual salary is X. And then when you're asked that question and you are putting together your thoughts how to answer it, you always say, listen, this is the range that I've researched, but obviously there's much more beyond the salary from a benefits standpoint. So curious what you've budgeted for the role, and let's talk about the ancillary benefits and how that all fits into the total comp package. Couple reasons why that's important. One, you set the stage with them that you're going to be talking about all these ancillary benefits, and two, it just doesn't back you into a corner from a salary, like only talking about salary. So it's something that most clients don't recognize and realize, and sets the stage for when we get to the actual negotiation.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people on the market right now that are just super excited to get that job offer. So their, salary negotiation is kind of the last thing on their mind. Like you said, they don't even realize that they can negotiate their salary.
Yeah.
How can you help them advocate for their self-worth?
So part of it is the homework. And when I start a client engagement, we get grounded to their relationship with money. So a lot of us have limiting beliefs around money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Therefore, I have to work so hard to earn it. And I'm fresh out of college. I haven't got a job yet. How could I negotiate? Or filthy rich statements like this, or how you grew up. Did you grow up under the poverty line? Did you grow up with a scarcity mindset? Your relationship to money is actually what is an important place for us to start. So once we understand that, it's really helpful, because then we can break through reframing to have a different relationship to when we think about money and greed. And I think that's the best place that I have found with my clients that we start. Then we move into the homework piece. So when you walk into something not knowing, having not done your homework, makes it a little more difficult for you to be confident about it. So we ground ourselves to as many facts as we possibly can. which is a confidence builder. So now we've got a new relationship to money. Now we've got we've got new homework that we've done. And then the prep for the interview piece. So don't underestimate. We won't get to the negotiation if you haven't done your elevator pitch and that you've practiced and like studied the companies. So there's a lot of work we do around that as well. And then planting the right seeds, around money, because those questions come up sometimes early in the conversations, not just at the end, so that we are paving the way for the right conversation at the end. Those are the really critical factors that give people the confidence to be able to talk. So it's also practice, be in front of a mirror, practice how you will negotiate, practice what you will say, do it with your phone. A lot of my clients will record themselves and go back and look, send it to me for feedback. So that's another way for you to prepare. What is my body language when I talk about money? What is, do I go, move? Do I close my eyes? There's all sorts of things we do that it helps from an awareness perspective. And so all of those factors just help you walk in and be like, okay, well, I've done everything I can to prepare. And the last thing I would say is creating a win-win is important. So just think about this, Mary. If somebody has made you a job offer, they want you.
Mm-hmm.
And you want them.
Yep.
So you could even say, listen, I'm thrilled to have this, to have this opportunity, and this has been such a great process. So thank you so much, and thank you for the offer. Obviously, the ultimate goal is that we create a win-win, so we both feel valued here. So let's talk about what that looks like and what feeling valued looks like for me and for you. I think the other thing is people, when you think negotiation, you think about maybe attorneys, you think about a courtroom, you think about there's a winner and there's a loser. And in salary negotiation, it is not that way, because really, they're telling you they want you. And I'll say one last thing, which is every person on the other end, every person is expecting you to negotiate. So it's not like those doors are shut and you have to pound them down. The door's wide open for you to walk through it. And I know this is a more of a rare case, but I did a podcast with a recruiter who said that she places C-suite execs, and she said she once had a CFO who was made a job offer, and they pulled the job offer from the person because they didn't negotiate. Why that's so important is if you think about what roles in a company would negotiation actually be important, CFO would be one of them. Anytime you have vendor relations. So it also comes across, it shows your confidence. And you want to set that stage so your company is like, wow, that was Bold's move, and I really love how he or she showed up. So those are my top tips.
Yeah, I love that because, like you said, it's a negotiation when it comes to negotiating your salary. There definitely don't need to be a one winner and one loser. I had a thought that was going with that, and now I'm probably going to edit that part out. I'm going to start that over.
Cool.
When it comes to salary negotiation, there definitely doesn't need to be one winner and one loser. It's one of those things where you can chat with your potential employer and figure out a situation that works best both for you and for them. And I think that that's so important to go in with that mindset, to just know that, okay, if I can get maybe a little bit more, if I can't get some more money, maybe I can get some more PTO time or something else, some sort of a benefit that could really affect my life in a positive way. And in turn, that's going to make me want to work a lot harder for my employer. And they probably know that too, right? And they want to hire you, so they want to make you happy so that you stay there for a really long time. So I think that that's an incredibly important mindset to go into.
I would layer on to that and say, you're not going to get everything you want in every negotiation. It may or may not happen, right? So, but if it's something you really want, this is a really incredible opportunity, it's a growth opportunity, it's everything that you dreamed of, you can say, okay, listen, you're not quite meeting me where I want to be from a salary standpoint. appreciate that you've pushed it as far as possible. And we've looked at all the other ancillary things, personal development, coaching, my chief membership, millions of different things, and we still haven't quite got there. Let's talk about what my financial growth will look like inside the organization and when we can revisit this. So you're planting the seed for you to move into that conversation later. And the one lever that I always recommend my clients pull is, if all of those other things don't quite add up, a sign-on bonus is another way to help them add up. And you can close the gap that way, or if you've left a bonus on the table, depending on what time of year you're leaving your company. These are all highly relevant things that most companies will consider, because it comes out of a different P&L item in a sense, right? So the personnel budget is the biggest budget on the P&L. And, they have to make sure that they're treating employees fairly. So, if you're coming in, Mary, and you want $300,000 and everyone else on the team at that level is not more than $250,000, well, we have a gap, and we're not going to give Mary, you're not going to give you $300,000, because we have to make sure we have equity. But have that conversation, have the transparent conversation. Maybe there's something different with the role. Maybe there's something different with the title. Perhaps it's a step-in role that is going to grow within the first year. Like, get those commitments down on paper so you know both where you're going financially and from a career perspective.
Yeah, I love that. And, we already kind of brushed on the fact that negotiation isn't just about the salary. So what other aspects of a compensation package should our listeners be considering?
So I will tell you, I'll give you an example of someone that I worked with. He was an automotive technician who got his master certification, which is a really big coup if you are in that industry. Technicians, I believe last I checked, the turnover rates were more than 50%. Wow. It's very hard for dealers to keep technicians. So he got a certification. He loved the dealership he worked for, loved them, and came to me and said, Kale, I want to be able to approach them in a really thoughtful way about what's next for me. So they knew he had just got his certification. We mapped out this beautiful plan, which included a raise, and he was an hourly worker, so we suggested ranges based on the market for his hourly. We suggested or co-created a custom bonus program that was related to his output. So he's like, Kale, I'm going for it. Like, I am hungry, so I'm okay. I want my bonus to be higher, but I'm okay to work a little bit for that. So we co-created this custom bonus structure where his current bonus was a little bit higher because now he's a master, and then we co-created different levels. Super cool. He works in a dealership, so guess what? They have lots of company cars available. So we got them to also give him a car, insurance, and gas, which saved $1,700 a month.
Wow.
Out of pocket for him, because he didn't have to have his car payment, insurance payment, gas payment. And then we had them throw in medical coverage, paying for the medical coverage for him and his wife. So a super creative way that, and we got him 10 additional PTO days, which is money in his pocket as an hourly worker. That's absolute money in your pocket. So everything is on the table. I mentioned earlier chief membership. I mentioned sign-on bonus. I mentioned growth and development. A lot of my clients actually get their work that they do with me paid for by their company because they ask for personal development and ask for a professional coach. So I'm a professional coach, and we invoice the company. Wow. So that's also just something to think about, like grounding yourself to what's important to you. And I'm a learner. I'm like constantly thinking about how can I grow. I just hired myself 2 coaches, a personal coach, a business coach. Like I'm really also a hormone coach to figure out menopause. So there's expertise out there, and I am hungry for it. So that's something important to me. And when I decided to become a professional coach, it was $12,000 or $15,000. I just went to my company and said, would you pay for it? It's going to bring this value to the company. And no brainer. So these are all customizable ways for you to have conversations based on what's important to you. And the one last thing I'm going to add on negotiation that is really important to think about, especially in this market, depending on your level, so I would say it's more relative if director level and above, talk about having severance included in your offer letter, so that because the market is a bit volatile, if they in fact terminate you, you have some protection. 3 months-ish is the number around director level. VP is 3 to 6 months, and for C-suite, 6 to 12. It's sort of the numbers that I've used in HR and the numbers that feel reasonable. And they may say no, and that's okay, but putting it on the table just gives you a little protection.
Yeah. So what are some common mistakes that people make during negotiations, and how can they avoid them?
Well, they let emotion get in the way. So it's really important that you come in fact-based. I think some people have the wrong conversation. So let's say I'm inside my organization and I am really frustrated because Mary is sitting next to me, and I just found out that Mary is making $30,000 more than me. Because we're normalizing this conversation now, right? We may or may not have salary transparency and comp philosophies inside our companies. So until that happens, you're pissed. You're frustrated that Mary's making $25,000 more than me or $30,000 more than me. And oh, by the way, I have more experience than Mary. Like, who's Mary? Now I'm pissed at Mary, and I'm pissed at my boss and my company because you've done me wrong. So they're coming at it in those kinds of cases with the wrong approach. So you would never walk into your boss's office and say, Mary's making $30,000 more than me. I'm frustrated. Yeah. What you do instead is you say, hey, listen, you time that conversation very, very strategically, just wrapping up after a phenomenal project, super positive feedback, something. You time it around when your boss has the most energy. Are they morning people, evening people? Do they let their hair down, their guard down a little more in the evening? You time that conversation really thoughtfully, and you say, hey, listen, I am loving this path that we're on, and thank you so much for the positive feedback. Things really are going in the right direction. I'd love your support on how can I continue to grow in the company, both from a career navigation and also a financial perspective. I'd love your advice to help us figure out how do I get there. Here's some thoughts I'm having. I want to take on more leadership opportunities. I've done some homework on my role in the market, and the range is quite a bit higher than where I am today, and I would love your advice on how can we get me there. So it's not, you're not coming in guns a-blazing and ready for a fight. You're actually having them like, oh, of course, yeah, I'm going to help you get there. It's a totally different conversation. Guards are down. It is their job, by the way, to help guide you, and hopefully they're doing this proactively, but most are not. So set the stage for that to be a beautiful conversation. If I come in and I say, yeah, well, I just bought a house, man. Like, I need you to give me a bump because I got a mortgage to pay now. Or I'm having a kid and there's no way I can afford having a kid on this salary. Not the things your manager cares about. Not their problem. So think about it strategically. So I would say that's the biggest mistake, because if you make that mistake, it's hard to come back from it. Yeah. It's really hard to then revisit that conversation if you messed up the foundation of it.
What if somebody nails that conversation, whether it's, it's in the initial negotiation process, or even, whether they come to their current boss and they're asking for that raise? And let's say that boss or that manager gives them just a little bit of pushback. What would you recommend we do in that situation?
I'm a big curiosity person, and I want to understand. Yeah. Help me understand. Okay, so the answer is no. Could you help me peel that back a bit and give me a little more context? And is it a no now, or is it a no period? Is it a no, you don't see me as a leader? Okay, let's talk about that from a performance standpoint. What would what do you need to see from me? Let's revisit that. If you can understand the context, you're going to have a much better chance to be able to fill in some of the gaps. If they won't give you context, then you really have to ask yourself, is this the company that you want to work with for your future, right? So it comes down to being just really intentional about what really is important to you. And if you say to them, listen, if they say no, there's nothing we can do on salary. Okay, well, let's talk about some of the other things that are also important to me. We just went through that list. Personal development, my growth is really important to me. So, is there anything inside the company? And let's also talk about, if growth is important and you agree that I have the opportunity to grow career-wise here, anyone that you think from a network standpoint that I need to meet, any projects that I need to get on. So finding any pockets that you possibly can that are going to help you move forward. And then you have to decide of whether or not those are enough drivers to help keep you excited about being there. And then I would also say, in doing your homework about what your role is worth on the market is important, and take every recruiter call. I recognize there's a lot less recruiters reaching out in today's market, but anytime a recruiter reaches out, take that call so you can see what you're worth on the market beyond just some of the different salary opportunities you have to research. Could be a game changer, could be your future job, number one. Number two, getting that range from them would just be, okay, well, if they're calling me about a range that's so much higher than where I'm at, maybe I do need to start thinking about what's next for me.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that data piece. So what type of data should we be gathering right now so that we are prepared to negotiate?
Yeah, so there's a couple of websites. I'll give you a couple of my favorite. My all-time favorite, and the reason why I love it so much is because they pull from different sites and they say where they're from. It's on ChatGPT, Salary Navigator. Okay. So I have it saved under my ChatGPT, and I just grab it anytime I need it. And just be really clear on the title, the city, the state, the country, as much information as you possibly can about bringing the salary info. And they'll pull it from Glassdoor, PayScale, all the different sources. That's my favorite one. But I like to play around. I mean, you can just Google salary comparisons, and there's a million different. There's some that you have to pay for, some that are free. The Salary Navigator on ChatGPT may not be on the 3.5 version. It may only be on the 4.0 version. But I love that source. And then again, it's not only that. It's you're at a family function or a dinner party. Like, hey, I'm putting my feelers out there. I'd love to know inside your company what is the director level feel like in terms of do you have any concept of, you don't have to ask them what they get paid, but you can ask them if they could help you kind of piece together that story. Or ask them, hey, I'm trying to change the conversation around salaries, and I'm trying to see what other people make so we can all grow and do better. Would you be open to share? I'd love to share with you where I'm at, just to see if it fits and makes sense. So those are some of the ways that you want to get grounded to the facts.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I would add to that too, from a resume perspective, I always encourage people to keep sort of a brag sheet where they're writing down their achievements, the impact, any quantification that comes along with that, because then when you are prepared to negotiate, you have this list of, look at how awesome I am. I've done all of these amazing things and I can prove it. And then, not only does it help you update your resume when the time comes, it also helps with that negotiation aspect, I would imagine.
What amazing advice. So important to document some wins, and then also quantify them with numbers. And when you're prepping for an interview, that becomes super relevant because you're finding out what their challenges are, and then you can pull in, well, I was able to do boom, boom, boom at this company. I could do the same for you. that becomes so critical in the interview, but also when you're trying to state your case. So I love that you added that. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm also curious if you could go back and give yourself 3 pieces of advice, back in the day when you were negotiating those salaries, what would it be?
I would have, again, because I didn't know I could in the early days, I don't know where I would have figured that out, right? I would say, what I wish was that there was more conversation around it, and that the people in my life or in my network talked more about it. So a light bulb could come off. And this is actually just why I do so many speaking engagements and community events and podcasts, because people need to know this. They need to know that they can. So I wish I did, but that wasn't something that I would have been able to necessarily personally change. I would say, in addition to that, finding my voice. And frankly, Mary, this is something that I've worked on my whole life. I still work on it today. And that really is, when you have a seat at the table, is it heard? Am I saying it the right way? Am I worrying about how it might come across? Like, I'm the only woman there. They're not listening to me. The guy next to me said the exact same thing. And, yet he got the credit. Like, what? So I've really been thinking about that a lot. And I think if I were to go back and do a little bit more work on me and my confidence, that would have, without question, been a game changer in so many aspects of my career, not just on the negotiation side. And then I would have thought more about creating that win-win environment and like practice like different conversations about it, and done a little more homework on how can you negotiate effectively. Like, to be clear, Mary, we barely had the internet when I started. So we didn't have the access that we do today. Today, there's just so many resources that are at your fingertips. Of course, you have to piece it all together, and working with somebody to help you do that is a big help. But I think I would have done those things, and I think the confidence one would have probably been the biggest game changer.
So for our listeners who are getting ready to go into a salary negotiation tomorrow, what are the top 3 pieces of advice you would give them?
Okay, well, do your homework. First and foremost, we don't have too much time to get into limiting beliefs and what your relationship is to money, but you can ask yourself that. What's blocking me or getting in my way? Then do your homework. What is it worth on the market? What are other roles with similar titles? Sometimes you have to get creative. Where am I at today, and what feels good for me? And then practice how to have this conversation and video yourself so you can see what looks right, what feels right, what your body language is doing, and practice how to have that conversation in a really positive and effective way, and think about creating that win-win.
Love it. What are you up to now, and where can we find you on social media?
So I am LinkedIn passion project. It is the most incredible platform, I would say, for anyone who is seeking their next opportunity. If you're not actively engaging on LinkedIn, you're sleeping on this platform. That is one of the most powerful sources. And if you're not writing your own content and creating your own personal brand so people can find you when they're looking to do some research on you and sharing your thought leadership. So LinkedIn is my number one source. I post almost daily, so anyone who wants to find me on LinkedIn, I'm really, really just super engaged. And I take tons and tons of calls, so you can do a discovery call with me for free. And there, and then I would find me on Instagram, find me on TikTok. I'm loving that platform, TikTok. I'm the Salary Bump everywhere, but Keri-Lynne Shaw on LinkedIn.
Awesome, Keri-Lynne. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
Thanks for listening. I will be releasing episodes every Monday, so be sure to subscribe on the platform that you are watching this, give it a 5-star review, and we'll see you next time.